Coming up in this Brightline construction update. This Brightline construction update provides a look at Brightline's Orlando Vehicle Maintenance Facility, which I was invited to tour by some of Brightline's mechanical personnel. Located on the southern side of Orlando International Airport, this facility will be responsible for the majority of the train maintenance for Brightline's Florida operations. Currently, maintenance is completed at the running repair facility in West Palm Beach. We'll start here at the future entrance to the facility off Boggy Creek Road. The entrance road will first cross over the OUC Stanton rail line. Crossing gates are scheduled to be installed here soon. For the time being, crews access the site through a temporary access road elsewhere on property. When opened, this road will be named after Henry Flagler, who founded the Florida East Coast Railway and who Brightline's corporate lineage can be traced back to. Stacked on the side of the road headed toward the site are pieces of siding and roof for the main shop building. These pieces were built in Alabama, then shipped here to the worksite and are being stored here until crews are ready to install them. As we make the turn to enter the facility, a guard shack will eventually be installed here to limit access to the facility once it opens. The trailers on the left are the temporary construction offices, and the main shop building is starting to emerge behind it. The small excavator that is working next to the trailers are part of a crew from the Orlando Utilities Commission that is installing what will become the main power supply for the facility. Parking for the facility will be on the left here. On the hill here is the construction mock-up. Everything from the foundation to the paint that is going to be done on the main building is first mocked up here, and all parties agree on how it is done and form the building standard. That way crews have something to come back to reference as the main building is completed. The massive retention pond on the left was dug to provide fill for the site. This part of the airport's property was originally a swamp, so the entire site was raised by at least 4 feet to provide dry ground for the facility to be built upon. We are now on the east end of the site, passing by the area where a Y will end up being constructed. The Y will allow Brightline's maintenance staff to turn locomotives as needed so they can be used on either end of a train set. Brightline's order for additional trains that is currently being constructed will include an additional spare locomotive, which will allow one to be in for maintenance without having to take an entire train out of service. We are now coming up to where the rail line will enter the site from the station. The tracks here will initially only lead to the maintenance facility, but will eventually become the main line to Disney and Tampa. Construction crews recently finished building a box culvert under the right-of-way in this area and are currently installing additional drainage, which prevented us from getting any closer to the section of completed track leading from the station. We are now driving down the future roadbed towards the location of the future storage and shop tracks. Initially there will be 2 storage tracks, and there is room to add an additional 6 as Brightline's fleet grows. On the left here will be a wash rack to clean the trains before they enter service. On the far right, which is the northern edge of the facility, is where the future double-track mainline to Disney and Tampa will be built. On the left here are pieces of welded rail. Since there is currently no direct rail access to the site, short, truck-sized pieces are shipped by the manufacturer to a location near Cocoa on the Florida East Coast Railway. They are then loaded on a truck and brought here. Once the pieces of rail arrive, a crew will weld them together to create a piece of continuous welded rail. Here, a crew is using an electric flash butt welder to combine two of the smaller pieces of rail. We are now headed to the far west end of the site before we come back to finish with a look at the main building. Additional materials are being stored on the right here. The road that we are driving on here is only temporary for construction access. Once construction wraps up and the main entrance opens, this road will be removed. We have now made it to the west end of the site. We are now driving onto a portion of the roadbed. This section of roadbed ends at the OUC rail line, where a turnout will be installed to link the site with CSX's rail service. This turnout will allow Brightline's new trains to be delivered here once they have been completed at Siemens' Sacramento manufacturing facility. This track will also allow materials to be delivered by rail for the construction of the rest of the line towards Cocoa. We'll now head back toward the main building. To give an idea of just how much groundwork was required here before any vertical construction could begin, near here, crews discovered a sinkhole that was 80 feet deep. They had to stabilize the hole to prevent it from expanding any further before filling it in and bringing it up to the height of the rest of the site. On the right here, crews are in the process of installing fuel lines. There will be two 40,000 gallon tanks that will provide a total of 80,000 gallons of fuel for the trains. A tank for diesel emissions fluid, which is used to help meet the Tier 4 emissions requirements for the locomotive engines, will also be installed here. Lines will be piped both here and to the other side of the facility so locomotives on both ends of the train can be serviced at the same time. And here is the main building. When complete, it will have 3 shop tracks. There will also be a track leading into a locomotive shop and a truck shop, along with offices, workshops, and warehouse space alongside as well. We are entering the building from the east side. To the tracks 4 and 3, are built with inspection pits running their full length. They are covered with plywood right now for safety purposes. When the major work on the building is complete, the concrete floor will be covered with an epoxy coating. Rail will not be laid in the building until it is closer to completion. These boxes in the floor are vaults that will hold power cables and air hoses. This keeps clutter and tripping hazards off the floor by giving them a place to be stored when a train is not using them. The structure is being built in multiple, simultaneous stages by crews working from the east headed west. One crew is working on building the floor while another follows behind putting up the building's frame. On the far left near the concrete wall is track 1, which is in the future locomotive shop. Next to it are several workshops and the truck shop. Moving down the shop, crews are working on the next part of the building. One crew is currently working on laying rebar for the next section of the concrete floor to be poured. The floor is being heavily reinforced so that when finished, it can hold a parked train weighing upwards of 1 million pounds, with the locomotives themselves weighing 275,000 pounds apiece. The building is only being built to half of its future overall length. Initially, it will be able to hold a train consisting of 5 passenger cars and 2 locomotives. When eventually extended to its full length as service expands, it will be able to hold a 10-car train with 2 locomotives, which is also the length that Brightline station platforms are built for. Here is the drop table that will be along track 2, which will be the heavy maintenance track. It is 25 feet deep and extends over to the truck shop. In use, a train will be able to move across the table to the truck that requires work. The truck can be disconnected from the car and dropped and moved over to the truck shop. A spare truck or the repaired truck can then be moved back over and attached to the car. This is a much more efficient method compared to what crews have to do at the current running repair facility in West Palm Beach. There, the car in question has to be completely disconnected from the train, which is an arduous process since the trains are semi-permanently coupled. The car is then positioned over floor jacks, which lift the entire car to access the truck. All of the workers you can currently see are working on rebar for just the first half of the building that they are building now. Double that heading west and you will have the full and expanded future length. It will be absolutely massive. An 11,000 square foot warehouse will be built here to store parts for the trains. On the left, near the yellow crane, is where a wheel truing machine will be built on what will be known as Track 5. The wheel truing machine allows crews to reprofile a wheel to remove any flat spots, which helps to provide a smoother ride and reduces maintenance required on the tracks. Once all of the frame is painted, the exterior panels and roof can be applied. Those pieces will be insulated to help deal with Florida's extreme weather conditions. Tracks 2 through 4 in the shop will have a 5-ton crane overhead that will be capable of meeting most maintenance requirements. The locomotive shop will have a 30-ton crane capable of lifting engines out of locomotives. The locomotive shop will also have jacks like they currently have in West Palm Beach, so cars can still be lifted here if there is ever a problem with the drop deck. Work is progressing rapidly here. All of the vertical construction that you have seen has been completed in the past couple of months. Overhead currently, a crew is painting a primer onto the frame. Select beams will end up receiving a coat of Brightline's signature yellow paint. hope you've enjoyed this inside look at the Orlando Vehicle Maintenance Facility. I would like to thank the people at Brightline for inviting me out to document the progress here so far. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and check out my social media pages to stay up to date with all of my updates.